Imagine this: everything you thought you knew about Iran, every headline, every stereotype, is about to be shattered. You've been told one version of this country, but what if that version is completely wrong? Welcome to Secret Journeys, where today we tear down the veil that has covered one of the most misjudged and deeply misunderstood nations on Earth, Iran. But let me ask you something before we even begin. What if Iran isn't the place of fear, hostility, and danger that the media has painted for decades? What if, hidden beneath the noise, exists a land of breathtaking beauty, of ancient wisdom, and of a kindness so profound that it could change the way you view humanity itself? Stay with me, because what you're about to witness isn't just a documentary, it's an awakening. This won't just transform how you see Iran. It might just transform how you see the world. Let's start by breaking one of the biggest misconceptions. You've heard it before. Iran is dangerous, closed, unwelcoming. But the people who've actually walked the streets of Tehran, Isfahan, and Shiraz tell a completely different story. They don't talk about fear. They don't talk about danger. They talk about doors opening, literally. About strangers who spot a confused traveler, abandon their plans, and walk them blocks out of their way, just to help. They talk about merchants who, when you try to buy something, look you in the eye, smile, and refuse to take your money. Not once, not twice, but several times, because in Iran, you're not just a customer. You're a guest. And being a guest? That's sacred. Pause for a moment. Can you name another country where random strangers on the street invite you into their home for dinner without ever having met you before? Where being a foreigner isn't something that sparks suspicion, but something that sparks joy, pride, and a chance to show you the best of their world. This isn't luck. This isn't coincidence. This is Taraf, an ancient, unspoken code that governs Iranian culture. A dance of generosity and humility where the act of giving isn't optional, it's a matter of honor. It's deeply woven into the fabric of society. So much so, that refusing payment, offering help, and making guests feel like royalty isn't an exception. It's the rule. But let's go even deeper. Let's address a narrative that has been repeated so often, most never stop to question it. The belief that Iranian women are voiceless, powerless, hidden behind the walls of oppression. The truth couldn't be further from it. Yes, there are laws. Yes, there are undeniable restrictions that from a Western perspective seem suffocating. But what the headlines fail to show is the extraordinary resilience that was born from that very resistance. Iranian women aren't waiting to be liberated. They are leading revolutions. In classrooms, in labs, in universities, in art studios, and boardrooms. Over 60% of Iran's university students are women. Let that number sink in. And not just in literature or arts, but in engineering, mathematics, medicine, and advanced sciences. Fields where women in many other nations are still fighting for representation, are dominated by Iranian women quietly rewriting the future. Look at their impact on cinema. Samira Makhmalbaf isn't just a filmmaker. She's a global icon. Her films have disrupted not only the Iranian film industry but also the very way the world perceives Middle Eastern women. Her stories don't whisper. They roar. Bold narratives that challenge gender roles, social barriers, and power structures, with a level of bravery and artistry that forces the world to pay attention. And now, I want you to reflect. How much of what you believed about this country came from experience? And how much from filtered headlines designed to simplify what is, in truth, a remarkably complex society? Because when you strip away the noise, when you listen, not to politicians, not to pundits, but to the heartbeat of the people, a different Iran emerges. An Iran that isn't defined by conflict, but by poetry, by hospitality, by an unbreakable spirit that refuses to be erased. And let me be clear, this is just the beginning. What's coming next will leave you questioning everything, from cities that look like living storybooks to architecture so otherworldly it feels like stepping into a dream, and to paradoxes so intense, so raw, that you'll wonder how such a place has remained hidden in plain sight. Are you ready to see the side of Iran the world rarely shows? Stay with me, because what's ahead may just change you forever. What's coming next isn't just surprising. It's the kind of truth that shakes you. It forces you to question how much of what we think we know is actually real. And in the middle of a world watching Iran through the lens of war, especially now, as tensions between Iran and Israel escalate into one of the most dangerous standoffs of our generation, it becomes more urgent than ever to understand what truly lies beneath the headlines. So before we dive deeper, let me ask you something. What shocked you the most so far? Had Iran ever crossed your mind as a place worth exploring? Or was it a destination buried under years of fear, confusion, and media distortion? Your thoughts aren't just important. They help break this chain of misunderstanding. Drop them in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe to Secret Journeys. Because what's coming next will absolutely leave you speechless. Now, let's rip apart another myth that's been recycled for decades. The idea that Iran is simply a dry, lifeless wasteland. Just endless sand, endless heat, and nothing more. But let me blow your mind. That image isn't just false, it's criminally incomplete. Yes, Iran holds within its borders one of the harshest deserts on Earth, the Dasht-e-Lut. This place doesn't just get hot. It holds the record for the highest ground temperatures ever recorded, reaching a skin-melting 70 degrees Celsius. A place so extreme it feels like standing on the surface of another planet. But here's the twist. Reducing Iran to its deserts is like staring at a single frame of a movie and thinking you've seen the whole story. Because the truth? Iran is one of the most geographically diverse countries on the planet. Look north, and everything changes. Where the desert ends, the miracle begins. Along the Caspian Sea, the Jilin province rises, where towering mountains are blanketed in thick, misty forests. Imagine endless rice paddies stretching to the horizon, waterfalls tumbling down emerald cliffs, and clouds drifting low like ghostly veils between pine-covered peaks. You could easily believe you were in Switzerland, not the Middle East. The contrast is so shocking, so surreal, it feels like nature itself is trying to rewrite the rules of geography. But why does nobody talk about this? Simple. Because it doesn't fit the convenient narrative of a hostile, barren Iran. Because if the world knew that Iran also holds lush jungles, snow-capped mountains, volcanic islands, and pristine coastlines, the black and white image would collapse into color. And here's where the story gets even more astonishing. In the city of Shiraz, the poetic heart of Iran, you'll find something straight out of an ancient dream: the Persian gardens. But these aren't gardens in the way you're imagining. These are mathematical masterpieces designed to embody heaven itself. Flowing water arranged in perfect symmetry, pathways leading through citrus groves, marble pools reflecting the sky, and ancient cypress trees standing like guardians of memory. These gardens weren't just about beauty. They were about philosophy, about balance, about humans living in harmony with the universe. Walk through one, and you don't just see Iran's history, you feel its soul. And then, there's Persepolis, a name that echoes through the bones of history. Once the ceremonial capital of the mighty Persian Empire, today its ruins still stand, defying time and decay. Towering columns, stone gates carved with depictions of kings, lions, and emissaries from every corner of the ancient world. You don't just see soldiers, you see diplomats. You see traders. You see artists. A world where diversity wasn't just tolerated, it was celebrated. Think about that. Long before modern nations spoke about diplomacy and coexistence, Persia was practicing it. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Maybe the reason this history is often ignored is because it doesn't fit the script that paints Iran as the eternal villain. And yet, while the past roars from the stones of Persepolis, the future is rising, just as defiantly. Iran isn't just a relic of empires, It's a scientific force. Quietly, out of the global spotlight, it has become one of the top nations in nanotechnology. Its scientists work on advanced cancer treatments. Its engineers build satellites and push boundaries in aerospace. Yes, in the very same country you've only heard about in the context of sanctions and conflict, there are minds rewriting the rules of science. And that's exactly why understanding this side of Iran matters more than ever. Especially now, as missiles fly, as drones cross borders, as the conflict with Israel teeters on the edge of something catastrophic. Because behind every explosion, behind every breaking news alert, there's a country far more complex, far more human, than anyone dares to admit. So, are we witnessing the unraveling of the Middle East? Or is this the moment where understanding could become the weapon that saves us from yet another endless war? The answers are coming, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's next. Preparat para adentrar en una historia de alianzas ocultas y estrategias silenciosas. Aunque no se habla mucho, Afghanistan también forma parte este tablero de guerra que hoy enfrenta a Irán y Israel. Cuando las tropas estadounidenses se retiraron, se abrió un vacío que Irán no desperdició. Fortaleció a militias chis, extendió su manto de influencia en el oeste afgano y mantuvo rutas ocultas que podrían ser utilizadas si el conflicto con Israel escala aún más. Con cada paso que da Irán para consolidar presencia en Afghanistan, está construyendo una telaraña estratégica que conecta frentes lejanos pero interconectados. No se trata simplemente de territorio. Es una jugada maestra que le permite presionar a sus adversarios sin declarar una guerra formal. Y aquí es donde todo converge. El enfrentamiento directo entre Irán y Israel ya no es solo un pulso regional. Es una guerra multidimensional que se juega en Palestina, en el cielo de Siria, en los túneles de Yemen, en las calles de Irak, y también en las sombras de Afghanistan. Cada misil lanzado, cada célula financiada y cada base establecida allí, amplifica la presión sobre Israel y obliga al país hebreo a dividir su atención en múltiples frentes. Israel, por su parte, responde con precisión quirúrgica. Ataques aéreos selectivos, ciberataques invisibles, sabotajes encubiertos. Pero cada golpe, cada victoria técnica, plantea una pregunta fundamental. ¿En qué momento la presión se tornara tan abrumadora que cruzara la línea hacia una guerra total? ¿Tú crees que hay espacio para una salida diplomática frente a esta red casi imposible de deshacer? ¿O estamos viviendo el prólogo de una guerra regional que podría reconfigurar el Medio Oriente? ¿Y tal vez el mundo entero? Porque una lección nos lo recuerda con fuerza. Cuando varias guerras se entrelazan bajo una misma sombra, la única certeza es que la normalidad ya no existe. But Iran's splendor doesn't stop with the natural or the poetic. This land was once the beating heart of one of history's most powerful empires, Persia, and its legacy still pulses through the ruins of Persepolis, the ceremonial capital of kings like Darius and Xerxes. This ancient city, carved into the earth like a whisper from the past, still stands proudly with its towering columns and intricate stone reliefs. These images don't just show battles, they depict emissaries from faraway lands bringing offerings, a testament to a civilization that valued diplomacy, diversity, and cultural coexistence. Long before the modern world began preaching tolerance, Persia was already practicing it. So why is this side of Iran so rarely discussed? Maybe because it challenges the simple narratives we're used to. Because it reveals that the so-called enemy might have built palaces of tolerance before others knew the word. And while some imagine Iran as frozen in a bygone era, the truth is it's also racing toward the future. The country has quietly become a scientific powerhouse in the region. It invests heavily in fields like nanotechnology, aerospace research, and cutting-edge medicine. One of its brightest stars? Maryam Mirzakhani, a mathematical genius who shattered expectations and ceilings by becoming the first woman ever to win the Fields Medal. an honor regarded as the Nobel Prize of Mathematics. Her work on complex geometry revolutionized the field and became a beacon not just for Iranian scientists, but for aspiring minds across the globe. So, tell me, how much of this did you actually know about Iran? How many of these realities have been left out of the global conversation? Let's keep the discussion going. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Which part surprised you the most? Have you ever considered seeing this side of Iran with your own eyes? If there's one language that transcends geography, ideology, and time, it's the language of poetry. And in Iran, poetry is not confined to dusty shelves or forgotten schoolbooks. It is alive. It is felt. It flows through the veins of daily life like the scent of rosewater in the air. Poets such as Hafez, Rumi, and Saadi are not just historical figures. They are national treasures, spiritual guides, and cultural icons. Their words are spoken with the same passion one might reserve for a love song. It's not uncommon to see people flipping through a book of verses in the middle of a quiet evening, seeking comfort or clarity. In some families, poetry is used to make life decisions. Hafez's verses are consulted like sacred oracles, believed to carry truths deeper than logic can explain. What other country treats poetry not just as art, but as a compass for the soul? But poetry isn't the only way Iran speaks from the heart. Its culture is equally rich in taste and tradition through its cuisine, a silent storyteller in every dish. Iranian food is not about extravagance. It's about harmony, memory, and depth. Picture yourself tasting a spoonful of fezenjan, a delicately sweet and sour stew made with pomegranate molasses and crushed walnuts, simmered with chicken until the flavors melt into one unforgettable note. Or biting into a juicy kebab kubida, grilled over hot charcoal, served with rice so fragrant with saffron it feels like eating golden silk. Add to that the soft, clay-baked bread still warm from the oven, or a cup of steaming black tea served with crystallized sugar, and you realize, eating in Iran isn't just nourishment, it's a social ritual. It's where stories are told, alliances are formed, and generations are bound together around a shared table. Yet, despite this rich tapestry of life, there's still a persistent myth that clings to Iran like a stubborn shadow, the idea that it is a joyless, repressed, creatively barren land. But step onto the streets of Tehran, Isfahan, or Shiraz, and you'll see how wrong that notion is. These cities beat with artistic energy. You'll find young musicians strumming guitars in alleyways, fashion designers experimenting with bold lines and traditional fabrics, and galleries tucked into hidden courtyards showcasing daring visual art and provocative installations. The Grand Bazaar in Tehran is more than a marketplace. It's a living museum of colors, textures, scents, and sounds. A place where centuries of tradition hum side by side with modern ambition. It's where a hand-woven carpet shares the stage with cutting-edge jewelry design, and where every corner is alive with human connection. And then, there's the architecture. To speak of Iranian culture and not mention its architectural wonders would be a sin against beauty itself. One step inside the Nasir al-Mulk Mosque, better known as the Pink Mosque, and the definition of beauty changes forever. At dawn, sunlight floods through its stained glass windows, spilling vibrant mosaics of light across the Persian rugs. It's a moment that feels sacred, surreal, almost divine. A space where spirituality isn't only something you believe in, it's something you see and feel in beams of color and silence. But perhaps the most powerful expression of Iran is found not in its art or architecture, but in its people. The Iranian spirit is one of remarkable endurance. These are people who have preserved their cultural identity through empires, invasions, revolutions, and sanctions. They are not defined by headlines, but by their hospitality, their pride, their stories whispered across generations. Step into any Iranian home and you're not a stranger. You're a guest, often treated better than family. There is grace in the way they serve you tea, resilience in their eyes, and quiet strength in every handshake. What does this teach us about the human spirit? About dignity when the world tries to silence it? So now it's your turn. What surprised you most about everything you just learned about Iran? Had you ever heard of Maryam Mirzakhani before? Did you know that poetry in Iran holds such powerful emotional weight in everyday life? Let us know in the comments, because your voice helps break down stereotypes and build bridges where others still see walls. If this journey moved you the way it moved us to create it, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to Secret Journeys. We're just getting started, and what's coming next will take your breath away. A nation waiting to be rediscovered. Iran is far more than what headlines portray. It's a land woven from ancient wisdom, breathtaking beauty, and people who, despite political and economic hardships, still find joy in poetry, food, music, and human connection. Behind every story of struggle, there's a heartbeat of resilience. Behind every rule, a soul determined to thrive. It's a place where culture isn't just preserved, it's lived, shared, and reinvented every day. Now that you've seen this other side of Iran, what do you think? Has your perspective shifted? Could this country, often misunderstood, be one of the most unexpectedly captivating places on Earth? We want to hear from you. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and share this video to help others look beyond the surface. And if you're hungry for more hidden wonders, subscribe to Secret Journeys and turn on notifications so you never miss a single discovery. Ready for your next mind-blowing adventure? Click on the next video. We promise it's just as unforgettable. Just when you thought Iran couldn't surprise you any further. Get ready, because what you're about to discover might flip everything you assumed on its head. This is not just another country on the map. This is a hidden universe of stories, legends, and secrets waiting to be uncovered. Iran is like a sealed treasure chest, and with every new layer we open, we find something even more astonishing. Let's start with language, because every word carries a legacy. Did you know that the English word paradise actually comes from ancient Persian? The original word, paradisa, meant walled garden, a sacred space where humans and nature existed in perfect harmony. But to the Persians, these gardens weren't just for beauty, they symbolized the divine. In fact, many historical Persian gardens were designed to represent an earthly version of heaven, with flowing water, symmetrical paths, and trees planted with mathematical precision. So next time you hear the word paradise, remember, it's Persian at heart. Now, let's talk about something even older than most major religions, Zoroastrianism. Born in ancient Persia thousands of years ago, this belief system introduced concepts that would later shape modern monotheistic religions. Ideas like heaven, hell, angels, demons, and Judgment Day? All of that began with Zoroaster. And even today, in the desert city of Yazd, sacred fires still burn in Zoroastrian temples, one of which has remained lit continuously for over 1,500 years. Can you imagine a flame burning for 15 centuries without going out? But the soul of Iran doesn't only live in ancient ruins or sacred scripts, it vibrates through music. After the 1979 Islamic Revolution, music in Iran faced heavy restrictions. Yet, rather than disappear, it evolved. Artists began creating in whispers, in basements, online. And soon, a wave of underground fusion emerged. Imagine ancient Persian poetry laced over modern jazz or haunting vocals woven into electronic beats. Musicians like Mohsen Namju have become legends by blending the classical with the rebellious, the sacred with the subversive. Music in Iran is not just art, it's resistance, it's memory, and it's freedom. And forget the myth that Iran is isolated from the modern world. While some may still picture a closed-off society, the truth tells a different story. Iran is one of the few Middle Eastern nations that manufactures its own cars. Its pharmaceutical industry is among the most advanced in the region, and its scientists are actively contributing to fields like nanotechnology, robotics, and renewable energy. You might be surprised to learn that Iran even runs its own satellite program and is investing in space exploration. Now let's touch on fashion, because this, too, is a form of expression, even under restrictions. While dress codes are enforced, Iranian women have turned limitations into innovation. You'll see hijabs styled with bold colors, high fashion hidden under modest cuts, and intricate embroidery turning tradition into runway art. What the world sees as boundaries, Iranian women often turn into canvases of creativity and quiet rebellion. Still think Iran is nothing but sand and silence? Think again. The desert of Lut, officially the hottest place on Earth, is home to breathtaking night skies and endless silence that feels otherworldly. But Iran also offers unexpected tropical escapes. Head south to the Persian Gulf and you'll find islands like Keshem and Hormuz, where salt caves, coral reefs, and the surreal Valley of the Stars look more like science fiction than real life. These are places that feel like you've stepped off the planet. And we can't talk about Iran without honoring its spirit of resilience. During the brutal Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s, entire cities were reduced to rubble. But the people didn't flee, they rebuilt. Towns like Khorramshahr rose from ashes, stronger and more united than ever. That same strength pulses through daily life today, in quiet homes, busy bazaars, and vibrant cafes. Every aspect of Iranian culture tells a story. Literature, where poetry is still exchanged like currency. Cuisine, where saffron and pomegranate whisper of centuries of culinary mastery. Sports, where wrestling and weightlifting are rooted in ancient traditions of heroism. Family, where generations live and laugh together under one roof. This is not a culture frozen in time. It's alive, it's evolving, and it's reaching out. So tell us, what part of this hidden Iran captivated you the most? Had you ever heard of paradisa, the root of paradise? Or that one of the world's most enduring sacred fires is still burning today? Just when you think you've seen it all, Iran opens yet another door. A country that refuses to be boxed into clichés or summed up in headlines. Beneath the surface of every stereotype lies a world of nuance, and nowhere is that more evident than in the heart of its culture and the resilience of its women. If you thought you already knew what Iran was about, what you're about to discover may shake that belief to its core. Iran is not just ancient ruins, poetic verses, or saffron-scented bazaars. It's a land where tradition and transformation collide every single day. And right at the center of this ongoing evolution are Iranian women. Bold, creative, and quietly defiant in ways that most of the world never sees. Let's start with something that defies expectations. Did you know that Iranian women make up over 60% of the country's university graduates? In fields like medicine, physics, engineering, and literature, their presence is not just significant, it's dominant. But their power isn't limited to classrooms. They are filmmakers, entrepreneurs, athletes, tech developers, and artists, shaping the country's future from the shadows and from the spotlight, often at the same time. Walk through Tehran, Isfahan, or Shiraz, and you'll feel their presence in the rhythm of daily life. A woman running a bookshop that hosts underground poetry readings. Another who designs fashion collections that sell out overseas despite local restrictions. A group of young girls breakdancing in an abandoned warehouse turned art studio. Every story is a quiet revolution in motion. And while the laws may impose certain dress codes, the streets tell a different story. Through bold color combinations, intricate headscarf arrangements, and avant-garde tailoring, fashion has become a powerful language of identity, resistance, and expression. Iranian women have turned clothing into a form of silent storytelling. Subtle, yet impossible to ignore. But the cultural depth doesn't end there. In Iran, even seemingly everyday traditions carry centuries of layered symbolism. Take Nowruz, the Persian New Year. This ancient celebration is more than just a holiday. It's a ritual of rebirth, a deep spiritual cleansing that begins at the arrival of spring. Homes are scrubbed from top to bottom. Symbolic items are arranged with mathematical precision, and families gather to reflect, forgive, and begin anew. Iranian women are often the keepers of these traditions, blending ancestral customs with modern values in ways that preserve the past while nurturing the future. Then there's the poetry. In Iran, poetry is not an art reserved for academics, it's a part of life. People still quote Hafez to express love, consult his verses to guide difficult decisions, and write lines of Rumi in wedding invitations or on the walls of cafes. Iranian women, mothers, daughters, students, professionals, carry this poetic tradition forward, embedding it in their daily lives, conversations, and dreams. Poetry is not entertainment here, it's identity. And here's a detail few ever hear about: the strength of Iranian women during the most difficult times in the nation's recent history. During war, during sanctions, during economic instability, they held families together, often working multiple jobs or pursuing education in silence, behind closed doors. They fought not with fists, but with presence, with knowledge, with endurance. Their power is not always seen in protests, it's in persistence. So now I ask you, how much of this did you know? When you pictured Iran, did you imagine this level of cultural complexity, or these stories of female strength and transformation? What surprised you the most? If this glimpse into the soul of Iran moved you, hit that like button. It really helps more people find this content and join us on these journeys. And don't forget to subscribe to Secret Journeys so you never miss the next chapter. We're only just beginning to uncover the beauty, the tension, and the humanity that makes Iran one of the most misunderstood yet mesmerizing places on Earth. Because sometimes, the most powerful revolutions happen in silence, and the most extraordinary cultures live hidden in plain sight. Let us know in the comments, what part of Iran's culture or the lives of its women left the strongest impression on you? The silent resistance of Iranian women. In a land where societal expectations and religious regulations shape daily life, Iranian women have quietly become some of the most powerful symbols of resistance, not through confrontation, but through creativity, expression, and relentless determination. Take, for example, the mandatory hijab. What may appear to be a uniform rule has been transformed by countless Iranian women into a personal statement. Through bold patterns, vibrant colors, and intricately coordinated accessories, they've turned a restriction into a canvas of individuality. Walk through the streets of Tehran or Mashhad, and you'll witness a silent fashion revolution, one that reclaims identity in the subtlest yet most impactful ways. It's a coded language, spoken not with words, but with fabric, color, and elegance. But the resistance doesn't stop at appearance. It thrives in the arts. Iranian women are using film, photography, music, and literature to carve out spaces where their voices cannot be silenced. These aren't just creative outlets, they are battlegrounds for truth, dignity, and visibility. One of the most powerful figures in this movement is visual artist and filmmaker Shirin Neshat. Her work doesn't whisper, it resonates. Through striking black and white photography and haunting cinema, she captures the deep inner conflicts between public identity and private emotion. In her internationally acclaimed film Women Without Men, Neshat weaves together the lives of 4 women in 1950s Iran, offering a poetic yet unflinching look at repression, freedom, and the hunger for transformation. Her art has been exhibited at the Venice Biennale, the Guggenheim, and MoMA, not just for its aesthetic brilliance, but for the truth it dares to reveal. What makes her story, and those of so many Iranian women, so compelling is the way they fight without ever raising their voice. Their resistance is not always loud, but it is deeply rooted. It appears in classrooms where women outnumber men, in hospitals where female doctors lead departments, in underground film screenings, online publications, and whispered conversations in cafes. It's quiet, but it's constant. And perhaps that's what makes it so powerful. Now let me ask you, have you ever considered how courage can take the form of a scarf adjusted just so, a camera lens pointed in the right direction, or a verse written in defiance? Could resistance be just as potent in silence as in protest? If this reflection moved you, click the like button. It tells the platform that these voices deserve to be heard. And if you want to continue exploring stories that go beyond borders and challenge the way we see the world, subscribe to Secret Journeys. Because sometimes, the most powerful movements are the ones happening just beneath the surface. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What stood out to you the most about the creative defiance of Iranian women? Would you like to see a full episode dedicated to their art, their struggles, and their triumphs? Your voice matters here, because sharing stories like these is how we build bridges where others see walls. The role of Iranian women in education and science. In a country often portrayed through the lens of limitation, Iranian women are quietly rewriting the narrative, one university degree at a time. Despite navigating a landscape filled with cultural, political, and social challenges, over 60% of Iran's university students are women. Think about that. In a nation where restrictions often seem insurmountable, women are not just participating, they're dominating in academia. And it's not limited to one field. In disciplines traditionally dominated by men, like engineering, medicine, and pure sciences, Iranian women are not only present, they're leading groundbreaking research, managing labs, and publishing studies that are gaining recognition across the globe. This isn't just progress, it's a movement driven by resilience, intellect, and the refusal to be confined by outdated norms. One of the most remarkable examples of this determination is Anousheh Ansari. Raised in Iran and later moving to the United States, she shattered every expectation when she became the first Iranian woman, and the first self-funded woman in the world, to travel to space. From a girl who once gazed at the stars through the polluted skies of Tehran, to someone who orbited the Earth aboard the International Space Station, her journey is not just inspirational, it's revolutionary. Her story speaks to every Iranian girl who dares to dream beyond the limits imposed upon her. Now ask yourself, how many dreams go unnoticed in places we assume are silenced? And how many Anousheh Ansaris are still waiting for their moment to take off? The ancient festival of Maragan, a forgotten celebration of equality. When we think of Iran, most people immediately associate it with religious ceremonies rooted in Islamic traditions. But beneath that surface lies a layer of history that stretches far beyond, into ancient Persia, where festivals like Maragan still echo the soul of a civilization that valued justice, balance, and harmony. Maragan is a pre-Islamic celebration honoring Mitra, the deity of friendship, affection, light, and love. It is often described as the Persian Thanksgiving, a day of gratitude, community, and peaceful reflection. On this day, families prepare special dishes, decorate their homes with colorful flowers and autumn fruits, and express appreciation not only for the harvest but for each other. It's a moment where divisions dissolve, and people gather to honor what connects them rather than what separates them. But perhaps most powerfully, women are at the heart of this celebration. From preparing the ritual tables to preserving oral traditions passed down through generations, Iranian women are the guardians of Maragan's spiritual and cultural legacy. In a world that often underestimates their influence, here they are, quietly holding the thread that ties an ancient past to the present. Isn't it poetic that in a place often associated with rigidity, there's an annual celebration that honors love, light, and equality? Now, let me ask you, did you know about this side of Iran before today? Have you ever imagined a celebration where friendship, not fear, takes center stage? If this moved you, tap the like button. It helps more people discover stories that deserve to be heard. And most importantly, leave a comment. Which part resonated most with you, the fearless women of science or the forgotten festival of light and balance? Your perspective matters, because together we're not just learning about the world, we're unlearning the limits we thought were set in stone. And trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you think you know. Persian poetry and the feminine soul. In Iran, poetry isn't merely a form of expression, it is a heartbeat, a shared language of the soul. It flows through conversations, daily rituals, and even the air itself, recited in taxis, whispered at bedtime, or read aloud in candlelit cafes. And among the most stirring voices to ever emerge from this poetic tradition is that of Furrow Farrokhzad, a woman who dared to write what society feared to hear. At a time when women were expected to remain silent about their inner worlds, Furrow opened the floodgates. She wrote not just with ink but with fire, about longing, vulnerability, identity, and rebellion. Her poetry was unapologetically intimate, often confronting themes like female desire, alienation, and the stifling walls of expectation. These weren't just poems, They were emotional manifestos wrapped in metaphor. And despite fierce backlash, censorship, and societal condemnation, her words endured. Today, Furrowa's verses are engraved into the cultural fabric of Iran. Teenagers recite her lines in secret journals. Artists paint her face as a symbol of courage. Academics around the world analyze her work for its raw, fearless depth. In a country where silence is often the rule, her voice became a revolution. Ask yourself, how powerful must a woman's words be to echo decades after her death, defying systems that tried to erase her? The sacred meaning of family and marriage in Iranian culture. In Iranian society, family isn't just important. It is sacred, deeply woven into every stage of life. And nowhere is this more vividly displayed than in the celebration of marriage, a ceremony that fuses centuries of symbolism with the intimacy of human connection. These aren't casual unions. They are meticulously crafted events designed to invoke blessings from both the heavens and the earth. One of the most enchanting aspects of an Iranian wedding is the Sofra Act, a ceremonial spread that transforms tradition into visual poetry. Laid before the bride and groom, the sofra is filled with symbolic items. A mirror reflecting truth, candles representing light and clarity, sweet pastries for a sweet life, and nuts for fertility and abundance. Every item is curated with care, each carrying a story passed down through generations. And behind this majestic arrangement, the women. Grandmothers, aunts, mothers, matriarchs whose hands not only set the table but preserve centuries of heritage. They are the invisible architects of the celebration, ensuring that no detail is overlooked and no blessing left uninvoked. Through their dedication, ancient customs are not only maintained but reshaped to align with the spirit of modern love. This is the beauty of Iranian culture, where rituals evolve without breaking, where the past walks alongside the present. In a world rushing toward change, how many societies still pause long enough to decorate love with such reverence? Now it's your turn to reflect. Have you ever attended a ceremony where tradition felt like living art? Have you ever read a poem that made you feel more seen than any conversation ever could? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The soul of Iran woven in threads, the Persian carpet legacy. In Iran, every thread tells a story, and many of those stories are told by the hands of women. Persian carpet weaving is not just a craft passed down through generations. It's a living art form, a language of patterns and symbols stitched into existence over weeks, months, or even years. While men also participate in this tradition, it is often women who carry the legacy forward, acting as both creators and storytellers. In regions like Kashan, Tabriz, and Qom, these carpets are far more than decorative pieces. Each one is a canvas of emotion, tradition, and heritage. The weavers pour their dreams, struggles, and hopes into intricate floral motifs and geometric harmonies, many of which reflect personal or regional identity. It's not uncommon to find carpets woven with intentional imperfections, known as Persian flaws, meant to remind us that only the divine can be perfect. And beyond the beauty lies the reality. For thousands of Iranian women, especially in rural areas, carpet weaving remains a lifeline, a source of income, autonomy, and pride. Behind every masterpiece sold in Europe or the US lies a story of resilience, passed from mother to daughter, loom to loom. Have you ever walked on a carpet that holds generations of memory? Inside the bazaars, where culture and commerce breathe as one. Step into an Iranian bazaar, and you're stepping into the beating heart of an ancient civilization. These are not just markets, they are living museums, bustling theaters, and cultural sanctuaries all in one. And right at their center, women. Fierce, skilled, and deeply connected to their craft. In legendary bazaars like those in Isfahan and Shiraz, women run spice stalls, design hand-woven shawls, and curate antique jewelry passed down for centuries. They are not just sellers, they are guardians of memory, curators of culture, and sometimes historians in disguise. Engaging with a woman at a bazaar is never just about buying something. It's a dialogue, a shared moment where stories, recipes, and wisdom pass from one soul to another. And in a world rapidly shifting toward digitization, these women are quietly preserving a slower, richer rhythm of life. Next time you pass a market, ask yourself, what would the world lose if places like these disappeared? Rural traditions, the invisible backbone of Iranian culture. Far from the neon lights of Tehran and the domes of Shiraz, a quieter Iran exists, one that pulses through mountain villages and sun-soaked fields. And at the heart of this life, women who are the keepers of ancient rituals, food, and folklore. In the Kurdish highlands, for instance, women bake lavash bread in clay ovens built generations ago, their hands guided by memory more than measurement. These aren't just recipes, they are acts of cultural resistance, nourishing not only the body but also the continuity of identity. From making yogurt in goatskin bags to leading seasonal festivals that celebrate harvests, fertility, and the turning of the sun, these women perform invisible miracles daily. Their labor is unpaid, their names often unknown, but their impact is profound. Isn't it powerful to realize that some of the world's most meaningful traditions are being preserved quietly, in villages most maps won't even name? Iran is not just a land of monuments and myths, it is a living mosaic of people, rituals, and stories that challenge every assumption we've ever had. And the women of Iran? They are not only survivors of complexity, they are its most eloquent narrators. Now we want to hear from you. What surprised you the most about this journey through Iran's hidden soul? Which story touched you the most? The weavers, the merchants, or the women keeping rural life alive? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if this video opened your eyes to a deeper, richer Iran, don't forget to like and share. It helps more people discover these untold stories. And make sure you're subscribed to Secret Journeys, because what we'll reveal next may just change the way you see the world.